Lena Brooks pressed her back against the cold bathroom door as the house fell silent. Her fingers trembled around the wedding ring she hid for months. The hallway outside felt like a trap waiting to snap shut. Harold Grant had been watching her more closely than ever. Every question he asked carried the weight of suspicion. Every step he took echoed like a warning she could not ignore. Tonight he searched her room again, digging through drawers and bags. Lena felt the air tighten when she heard him curse under his breath. He was close to finding something he was never meant to see. Her secret marriage to Evan Miller pulsed like a heartbeat she couldn't silence. If Harold discovered it, she knew the consequences would be violent. She closed her eyes, gripping the ring until her palm burned. Somewhere between fear and resolve, she knew time had run out. Lena Brooks met Evan Miller when she was 19 and desperate for one safe place in her life. He became the only person she trusted enough to breathe around. Their relationship grew slowly, quietly, hidden under layers of fear. Harold Grant monitored her social life until it barely existed. He checked her phone bills and questioned every call she made. He demanded explanations for every minute she spent outside the house. Evan learned early that loving Lena meant loving her in silence. They met in parking lots, empty libraries, and late-night diners. Every moment together felt stolen, fragile, and precious. Lena knew she could never bring Evan home without risking a storm. Harold believed control was love, and obedience was proof of loyalty. He reminded Lena often that she owed him everything. He reminded her more often that she was nothing without his rules. The night Evan proposed, Lena cried from joy and terror at once. She said yes, knowing it would have to remain a secret. They married in a small courthouse on a rainy Tuesday morning. No guests, no photos, no celebration beyond a quiet promise. Evan held her hands like they were the only honest thing she had. Lena returned home that same afternoon, as if nothing had changed. The ring stayed hidden in a folded sock deep in her closet. Her marriage certificate lay sealed in an envelope under Evan's sink. Every day after that felt like walking on shaking ground. Harold grew more volatile as Chloe approached her 18th birthday. He sensed something slipping from his grasp and tightened the leash. He demanded Lena report where Chloe went and who she spoke to. He used guilt like a chain to keep both girls compliant. Lena played along because she needed more time to keep Chloe safe. She learned to lie with steady eyes and calm breathing. She learned to hide her panic whenever Harold studied her too long. At night, she whispered updates to Evan through coded messages. He waited for the moment she could finally move in with him. But that day always felt too dangerous to reach for. Lena feared Harold would follow her, hunt her down, or hurt her mother. She knew leaving him required precision, timing, and absolute secrecy. Some nights, she rehearsed packing her bags in absolute silence. Other nights, she cried at the thought of exposing Chloe to more danger. Evan kept reminding her she deserved a life without fear. He promised he would wait no matter how long it took. He saved money, prepared a spare room, and created escape plans. Lena memorized every route, every window, every emergency signal. Still, she woke every morning wondering if Harold already suspected her. 5 years passed like a long breath she never released. Their marriage remained a shadow, living behind locked drawers and careful lies. Lena told herself she could endure anything as long as Chloe reached adulthood. She held onto that hope, even when Harold's anger darkened the house. She clung to Evan's voice on the phone like it was a lifeline. And she prayed every day that her secrets would not be discovered. Harold Grant found the notebook on a Tuesday afternoon while searching Lena's room without warning. He flipped through its pages with the suspicion of a man always expecting betrayal. The inked vows inside were delicate, personal, and unmistakably romantic. Lena had written them on the morning she secretly became Evan Miller's wife. Harold's breath changed first, then his posture, then his voice. He called her name with a calmness that felt like the pause before an explosion. Lena stepped into the hallway and saw the notebook in his hand. Her stomach dropped, as if the floor had tilted beneath her feet. Harold asked who the vows were for, even though he already knew the truth. His eyes burned with a fury that fed on fear and control. Lena tried to steady her voice, but her hands shook uncontrollably. She said the vows were private, nothing dangerous, nothing disloyal. Harold stepped closer until she could feel his breath against her face. He accused her of lying before she could finish the next sentence. The slap came fast, sharp, and without hesitation. Lena staggered back, gripping the wall to stay upright. Harold demanded the name of the man she married. He demanded dates, proof, and every detail she tried to protect. Lena refused, because giving him Evan's name felt like signing a death warrant. Harold grabbed her wrist until her fingers went numb from the pressure. He called her ungrateful, selfish, and delusional. He accused her of humiliating him by hiding a shameful secret. Lena tried to pull away, but he shoved her toward the stairs. Chloe peeked from her room, shaking, but too afraid to intervene. Harold yelled at her too, telling her to stay out of grown-up matters. Their mother appeared at the doorway, frozen in her usual dread-filled silence. She whispered Harold's name, begging him to calm down, but he ignored her. Lena asked her mother for help, but her mother looked away in defeat. Harold dragged Lena into the living room and threw the notebook on the table. He said she needed to choose between obedience and exile. He ordered her to sit and sign a document he had prepared months ago. The paper demanded she surrender all financial rights tied to the household. It also required her to acknowledge Harold as her legal financial guardian. Lena stared at the document like it was a trap lined with knives. She refused, her voice steadier than she expected. Harold slammed the table so hard the lamp rattled. He told her she could pack her things and get out of his house. He said she would leave with nothing and no one to defend her. Lena stood up slowly, terrified but unbroken. Chloe slipped into the hallway, tears pooling but silent. Their mother whispered an apology that felt too small for the moment. Harold threw Lena's backpack at her feet and ordered her to leave. Lena walked out without looking back, because looking back would destroy her resolve. Her heart pounded, but a strange clarity settled in her chest. The storm had arrived, and the truth had finally been dragged into the light. Lena stepped outside, clutching the notebook, and chose freedom over fear. Lena Brooks moved into Evan Miller's small apartment with nothing but a suitcase and her resolve. The door closed behind her like a shield against Harold Grant's wrath. For the first time in years, she could breathe without listening for footsteps. She thought the worst was behind her, but the phone calls came first. Banks called repeatedly, asking about transactions she never made. She discovered Harold had used her identity to open multiple credit cards. He had taken out loans, totaling tens of thousands of dollars. One business loan alone listed her as the principal for $40,000. She felt her stomach twist when she saw the amounts on her screen. Her personal information had been used to increase card limits and lines of credit. Every number she checked revealed another lie, another theft, another trap. She realized the chaos Harold had created would follow her like a shadow. Evan stayed calm, making lists and calling banks on her behalf. They froze accounts and disputed charges, but the process was slow. Lena learned Harold had also tricked her mother into signing fraudulent documents. Every deception uncovered made her heart sink deeper into anger. She called her mother, but fear still held her voice low and trembling. Harold had stolen not just money, but her trust in everyone around her. Even her friends were unsure how to help because the web of lies was so tangled. Lena documented everything, taking screenshots, saving emails, writing notes. Evan stayed with her day and night, mapping out every suspicious activity. They contacted a forensic accountant to trace the loans and credit card abuse. It became clear Harold had left a trail of victims across multiple states. One woman in New Jersey, another in Florida, all entangled in his schemes. Lena felt a wave of dread realizing Harold's reach extended far beyond her family. Chloe quietly sent recordings and photos she had taken over the years. Every piece of evidence Chloe provided added weight to Lena's case. They compiled files, organizing each transaction, each fraudulent document. Evan reminded Lena to breathe, but her mind raced with fear and determination. Every night she double-checked locks and security, fearing Harold might strike again. The total debt Harold caused Lena neared $50,000. The number made her blood run cold, but also lit a fire of resolve. She would not be a victim a second time. She filed reports with banks, the police, and eventually contacted the FBI. Every call, every visit, every signature moved her closer to justice. She thought of Harold, picturing him growing angrier with every step she took. It was exhausting, terrifying, but Lena felt alive in a way she never had. Evan held her hand through late nights and endless paperwork. Her strength came from the knowledge that she could finally fight back. Every day she learned something new about the scope of Harold's crimes. Every revelation confirmed her worst fears and fueled her determination. By the time they finished gathering evidence, Lena felt prepared to face him. She knew Harold would try to intimidate her again, but this time she had weapons. Not guns, not fists, but truth, documentation, and unshakable courage. The apartment became their fortress, and each file a shield against past abuse. Lena looked at Evan one night and realized the fight was far from over, but they were ready. As Lena Brooks and Evan Miller dug deeper, they discovered Harold Grant's fraud was far worse than they feared. He had not only stolen from Lena, but had manipulated her mother for years. Every signature, every account, every loan had been twisted to his advantage. He had left a trail of victims across state lines, each one unaware of the other. One woman in New Jersey had lost her savings after trusting Harold's promises. His sister in Florida had been drawn into a business loan scheme that ruined her credit. Even his ex-wife and daughter in Texas had suffered financial betrayal. It became clear Harold's patterns were deliberate, calculated, and repeated. Lena felt the weight of every person he had hurt, not just her family. They contacted a forensic accountant to trace every suspicious transaction. Each record revealed layers of deception, layering debt and fraud like bricks. The more they uncovered, the more dangerous Harold seemed. He was a master manipulator, using charm and intimidation in equal measure. Lena and Evan compiled everything, creating a detailed timeline of Harold's crimes. Chloe contributed secretly, sending audio recordings, photos, and saved documents. Every piece of evidence painted Harold as a predator who thrived on control. Lena's confidence grew as they organized the evidence, ready for legal action. They contacted a lawyer experienced in identity theft and financial fraud. The lawyer explained that multiple federal crimes could apply to Harold's actions. Lena realized the fight would extend beyond personal justice into the federal system. They also reached out to banks and credit agencies to freeze fraudulent accounts. Each institution provided confirmation, slowly building an undeniable case. Harold's web of lies became clearer with every call, every visit, every document. It was not just financial abuse. It was a pattern of emotional and psychological control. Lena documented conversations with her mother, evidence of coercion and threats. They traced every loan, every stolen identity, every manipulated signature. Chloe's recordings captured Harold admitting to fraud and threats over the years. These recordings became the backbone of the case against him. Evan organized everything digitally, creating backups and secure copies. They labeled every file by date, location, and type of fraud for clarity. The depth of Harold's deception shocked even the seasoned lawyer. Each revelation fueled Lena's determination to ensure justice was served. They discovered that Harold used other people's names to open accounts and hide debt. He had created fake businesses, falsifying documents to launder stolen money. Lena realized the scale of his actions was far larger than anyone in the family knew. Every document they collected became another link in the chain ready to trap him. She learned patience and precision were the only ways to confront him safely. Every night they reviewed evidence, planning steps to avoid alerting Harold. They rehearsed what to do if he tried to intimidate or threaten them again. Lena felt the transformation inside herself, fear turning into resolve. By the end of the investigation, they had a complete map of Harold's fraudulent network. It included victims, financial institutions, and multiple states of criminal activity. Evan reminded Lena that they were not alone. The law would back them now. Lena knew that confronting Harold meant exposing him fully to federal authorities. She realized she had become a fighter, armed with truth, evidence, and unwavering courage. Every piece of paper, every recording, every account verified their ability to take him down. The next step was inevitable. The law would finally face Harold Grant. Lena Brooks watched her mother stare at Harold Grant's laptop, frozen in disbelief. Every file she opened confirmed the worst suspicions of years. Photos, documents, emails, the proof of his lies stared back at them. Her mother finally saw what Lena had lived through in silence. Harold returned home that evening, expecting obedience and control. He found the house quiet, the bags packed, and a strange tension in the air. He demanded to know why Lena was moving out and who had helped her. Her mother said nothing at first, only shaking her head in silent guilt. Harold's eyes narrowed as he noticed the evidence spread across the table. He lunged toward the laptop, trying to close files and delete proof. Neighbors noticed shouting and banging, calling the police in alarm. Chloe stepped forward, holding recordings she had collected secretly. She handed them to the responding officers without hesitation. Lena provided documentation of every fraudulent account and loan Harold made. The police listened carefully, taking notes and photographing evidence. Harold raged, claiming lies and threatening anyone who dared speak. Officers remained calm, citing federal and state statutes as justification. Each recording and document Chloe and Lena collected strengthened the case. Harold was charged with identity theft, financial fraud, and intimidation. The officers read him his rights, as Lena felt a mixture of fear and relief. Her mother wept quietly, finally understanding how much she had ignored. Chloe hugged Lena tightly, whispering that justice was finally arriving. Neighbors watched in awe as the family finally stood united against Harold. The arrest felt surreal, the man who ruled their lives now restrained. Lena realized that years of careful planning and evidence collection paid off. She thought of every sleepless night, every whispered conversation with Evan. The fight had been long, but the outcome proved their endurance. The officers secured Harold in the squad car, reading his charges aloud. Identity theft, fraud, and threats. The list was long and damning. Lena felt a sense of closure, but also the weight of scars left behind. Her mother, once silent, now spoke with clarity about betrayal and fear. Chloe finally smiled without fear, knowing Harold could no longer control them. Lena looked at Evan, gratitude and love filling her chest completely. Together, they had survived the storm that Harold created for years. The community whispered about the arrest, some shocked, some relieved. Victims across other states began to come forward after hearing the news. The network of fraud Harold built began to unravel in court and investigation. Lena felt proud of Chloe, who risked herself to provide essential evidence. Her mother, shaken, admitted she should have acted sooner but found courage now. Every piece of evidence they had gathered became a weapon for justice. Harold's empire of lies could not withstand the truth they presented. Police escorted him to awaiting federal authorities, the beginning of his prosecution. Lena finally exhaled, feeling the heavy weight of fear lifting slowly. She realized the family was fractured, but no longer under Harold's control. The arrest marked the first step toward rebuilding their lives safely. Her mother promised to cooperate with every investigation and legal process. Lena knew the road ahead would still be challenging, but now free from terror. Justice had arrived, and the grip Harold held for years was broken. She understood finally that courage, preparation, and truth could defeat abuse. For the first time in a decade, Lena felt a flicker of peace in her chest. Lena Brooks spent the morning organizing files and making sure Chloe and her mother were safe. The apartment felt different now, calm and free from Harold Grant's constant shadow. Her mother filed for divorce, finally reclaiming control over her life and finances. Lena helped her mother understand the paperwork and the legal steps involved. Chloe stayed close, still shaken, but gradually finding courage and independence. They spoke about every detail, making sure nothing would slip through Harold's manipulation. Lena contacted other victims of Harold, connecting them to federal authorities. Each new story added weight to the case and validation to her own experience. Some women had lost life savings, some had loans in their names without knowledge. The FBI compiled evidence from all victims, creating a full-scale investigation. Lena felt relief, knowing her actions helped protect others from further abuse. Her career had suffered after her email was hacked, leaving her job in jeopardy. She worked hard to restore her reputation, sending proofs and clarifications. Colleagues began to understand, and slowly trust was rebuilt in her workplace. Evan remained a steady presence, helping Lena navigate legal, emotional, and practical matters. They created routines that balanced healing and preparation for ongoing legal battles. Lena made sure Chloe's education and well-being were prioritized during the stress. Family dinners became a place of conversation, laughter, and small victories. Lena found therapy helpful, processing the years of fear and manipulation. She learned to identify triggers and respond with calm, not panic. Her mother, though still cautious, began to take pride in standing against Harold. Chloe explored new hobbies, slowly shedding the fear Harold instilled for years. Lena's relationship with Evan deepened as they faced challenges together. Every document, every phone call, every court date felt like reclaiming lost power. The process of federal charges against Harold brought public acknowledgement of his crimes. Lena's detailed records, Chloe's recordings, and mother's testimony formed the foundation. Harold faced multiple charges: identity theft, fraud, intimidation, and conspiracy. Lena watched as the system took over what she and her family could not fight alone. Each day brought a sense of progress, though scars remained beneath the surface. She celebrated small wins, like restoring credit scores and closing fraudulent accounts. Evan and Lena worked on building a life together, grounded in safety and trust. They found an apartment that felt like a true home, free from hidden dangers. Lena started volunteering, sharing her experience to help others recognize abuse. She found purpose in transforming trauma into advocacy and support. Chloe started attending college, excited about independence and new opportunities. Her mother explored new hobbies, reconnecting with friends and community. Lena felt a quiet strength, knowing she had guided her family through the storm. The legal battle with Harold was ongoing, but control had shifted to the right hands. Every phone call from attorneys or authorities reinforced that the truth prevailed. She learned that resilience came not from avoiding danger, but confronting it carefully. Lena and Evan made plans for the future, balancing hope with realism. They discussed travel, career goals, and even a quiet wedding celebration later. Her nights were no longer filled with fear, but with reflection and gratitude. She documented lessons learned for Chloe, leaving guidance for the years ahead. Each morning began with intention, not dread, a small victory in itself. The family slowly reclaimed routines once stolen by Harold's manipulation. Lena felt proud of her courage, her persistence, and her ability to survive. Her relationship with Evan became a symbol of safety, love, and partnership. She realized true freedom was not just absence of danger, but presence of choice. By the end of the year, Lena saw a future bright with possibility and healing. Harold's shadow no longer dictated their lives. The family was whole in a new way. Lena's story became one of survival, advocacy, and rebuilding a life with strength. They celebrated milestones quietly, savoring each victory over fear and abuse. She understood that the journey of recovery was ongoing, but no longer lonely. Lena finally smiled without guilt or hesitation, embracing the life she fought to reclaim. Lena Brooks received the official federal charges against Harold Grant and finally exhaled. He faced 23 counts including identity theft, fraud, and conspiracy against multiple victims. The news felt surreal after years of fear, secrecy, and manipulation. She looked at Evan, gratitude and relief shining in her eyes. Every document she gathered, every recording Chloe took, had led to this moment. Her mother filed for divorce, finally free from the control Harold exerted for decades. Chloe smiled openly, no longer hiding behind fear and uncertainty. Lena felt a quiet strength, knowing she had reclaimed control over her life. They moved into a small apartment that finally felt like home, safe and permanent. Evan held her hand as they unpacked, symbolizing a new beginning together. The legal battles continued, but the worst of Harold's influence was gone. Lena started rebuilding her career and reputation, piece by piece. She celebrated small victories and acknowledged every step forward in healing. The scars remained, but they were reminders of survival, not weakness. Her family grew stronger, bonded by resilience and shared triumph. Lena understood freedom was not simply escaping abuse, but standing firm in truth. She documented her journey to help others recognize and fight manipulation. Every day she woke with purpose, hope, and determination guiding her path. The shadow of Harold Grant no longer controlled their lives or choices. Lena Brooks had survived, fought back, and finally lived on her own terms.